New video from the interaction between the Russian jets and the US drone comes out, pushing more people into their corners and, well, let's be completely honest, pushing us closer into war. So we'll be talking just a bit about that, what's happening there, and where we go with that. In other news, top Democrats say the FDIC should re-examine the $250,000 deposit, which is strange because that sounds like something that the party of the rich would go for, and I've been told since I was a kid that the Republicans are the party of the rich. And in the same breath, Republicans are telling us that the government should temporarily back all deposits. So no matter what, your taxpayer money is going towards it, but we'll talk a bit about that and what's happening there. On brutal murder in the South brings up allegations of racism and questions as to whether or not this was actually murder and why this isn't being investigated. And Ben Shapiro gets on board telling the story of if you give a man a fish, he will eat for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he will eat for a lifetime, but this time bringing free school lunches into it. It is going to be all this and more. I was the one flying the balloon. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and this is your evening news. We've got a lot to go over here today, and again, I've been talking about this for a little while, but I'm starting to question the future of Contemporary right now. I mean, it's weird for me to think about the fact of me not doing the evening news, but as was pointed out to me before I got started, I was texting back and forth with my former co-host, and I mean, number one, it's a hard market. Number two, this is a hard time slot, and there really isn't any place for me to go back to my old time slot. I would take 7:30 in the morning again in a heartbeat because it was very easy to garner an audience at that time. But again, I mean, at this time slot, it's hard. It really is to bring people in. And let's be completely honest, I'm pretty sure that once Ron Helton took off, I nuked my channel. I am almost positive of the fact that a big part of what happened there was me having the conversation about the Jew chat, and it's what I talked about last night as we were talking about what I was thankful for. But again, I mean, my big thing with that is I'm not going to sell myself down the river and give you something that I'm not. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks here. I'm going to keep going for a little while at least to see, especially as we see what's happening here with the news. But with what we have going on today, we actually have kind of a light news day today, so we'll be talking a bit about that, plus things that I like and things that I hate over here on Contemporary. Before we get started, make sure you guys check out great programming such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Porch Boys, Tweets by Brit, Mr. Behavior, The No Gimmicks Podcast, and more as we come together to bring you a better news experience. That is part of what's driving me here, is to get that better news and culture experience. People who don't wear suits that cost more than your house, that's always been my dream, because for so many of us, it's really the source that's out there, is a bunch of people who wear a suit that costs more than your house. Then, I mean, there's other great programming out there. Christensen is still out there, Styx. I mean, these are still normal people. So the market is still out there. I hope you guys go check out all that great programming. But let's get into our main news. Let's get started. Just looking at the Dow to start off with today. I gotta sign in to chat. That in here. Thought maybe they were going to make me do a captcha again. Oh, looks like we've actually got a bunch of people coming in here today, so we'll see what happens with that. But let's get started. Starting with the Dow. The Dow is sitting down at 32,246.55. That is up 371.98 points, or 1.17% on the day. And it looks like it actually started to dump off again, but looks like, I guess there must have been some good news in the markets here. So it took a steady rise, bringing itself back up. So we'll see what's happening with that. Looking in at your Bitcoin is at 24,970.50 after also taking a fairly steady rise throughout the day. A little bit of a jump roping and a little bit of bouncing ball, but coming back up into the positive, coming up $594.80, or 2.44% on the day. So some good news on that sector as well. Looking in at the gas prices in the Madison area, the same comparable map that we've been watching for as long as we've been doing this show. It was 3 years today, by the way, that we've been doing this. Looking in, though, we see a 340 on the southwest side of Madison. Otherwise, we've got 330s in all the quick trips across the Madison area. The BP that was at 4 came back and leveled off with everybody else down to 330. The BP on the north side is to 314. The quick trip on the north side dropped to 315. And the one out on the east side is down to 316 as well. So a little bit of good news on that aspect. Let's hope that goes the rest of the way across the market. Let's see what's happening there. Let's grab one from CNBC talking about what's happening in the finance. All right, let's continue without supporting. From CNBC, stocks close higher. Dow jumps more than 300 points as banks step up into aid at First Republic. Live updates from Alex Herring and Hakyung Kim. I feel like Biden when I just said live updates there. Like, oh, live updates. Yeah, that's what this is. Stocks rose Thursday as Wall Street grew increasingly optimistic after a group of banks said it would aid First Republic amid the industry's crisis. The Dow added 371.98 points, or 1.17%, to close at 32,246.55. The S&P gained 1.76 to close at 39,60.28. The Nasdaq advanced 2.48% to 11,717.28. As investors brought technology stocks on hopes that the crisis could push the Federal Reserve to shift its outlook on monetary policy at its meeting next week. Now, I mean, there are probably some options out there, Arbold, but I really do have to sit down and figure out what is going to be the best way going forward. I don't want to stop doing this. I really don't. Because there are enough people out there that look forward to this. I know I heard while I was on my hiatus, Arbold, our first chatter for the day, said outright to me, or he said to KTZed, I heard it secondhand, that he doesn't pay attention to the news because of the way that it's structured on the the clickbaity stuff, and if it doesn't happen on Contemporary, he doesn't consider it as having happened. But again, the issue came in when I started working at 7:30 in the morning, and again, I'm going to cut yesterday's things that I'm thankful for. I'm going to cut that down out of the video. I'm actually going to cut that and release that as a one-off video, just to explain what happened and why I'm feeling a little bit black-pilled about keeping going with this. But I never want to stop. I mean, I've said it. As long as one person watches, number one, I'm going to keep going, and number two, I'd love to die in this chair talking about the news. Like, just sit here and be 95 years old and sitting there and saying, the two-party system has finally collapsed. We can be at peace, and we can go and do our own thing, and I'm so glad that I spent the last 50 years making liquor and making people happy and giving people something to come back and share their life moments over. I love the fact that people have been drinking my liquor for 50 years, and that's how I want to die. I'm not going to lie. I want to, do really, really good by the human race and then be able to brag about it a little bit right at the end. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's how I want to pass away. It is a comfortable chair. I'm pretty well thinking, though, that we'll have replaced the chair a few times by that point at 95 years old. All right, let's see. All three indices traded down earlier in the session, with the Dow more than 300 points at its lowest, but the market turned positive after CNBC's David Faber reported. that a group of banks would deposit $30 billion in First Republic. The SPDR, S&P Regional Banking ETF, ended the session up 3.5% on its best day since November 10th, helped by a 10% gain in First Republic shares. Also boosting markets was an announcement from Credit Suisse overnight that it will borrow up to nearly $54 billion from Swiss National Bank to assure short-term liquidity. U.S. shares of the embattled bank fell to a record low Wednesday, following reports that Saudi National Bank, Credit Suisse's largest investor, said it would not provide additional assistance. Investors have been closely watching bank stocks after the closure of Silicon Valley Bank, and Signature Bank prompted concerns of contagion in the sector in recent days. Despite concerns in the sector weighing on the minds of investors, all three indices are on pace to end week higher, led by the Nasdaq Composite with a 5.2% advance. So, I'm going to talk about this just a bit right now, but I know we're going to be talking a little bit about this later as well with an emergency loan program. But that is what seems to be what's buoying up the stocks right now, is the banking sector, number one, and then number two, the fact that people have the confidence in the rest of the markets because of the confidence in the banking sector. Now, it's telling to me a little bit that these banks right now are coming out and loaning rather than, buying out assets from places that are faltering at this point. Credit Suisse, I mean, it's not a free market, but it's more free than it is. But one thing that I will pay attention to when I look at the banking, like these banks coming together to try to prop up the other bank, is the fact that one run is going to affect everybody else. I'm sorry, that's going to be, and that's a genuine fear that these banks have in and of themselves. If another couple runs start to happen, it is going to start being a contagion. So doing something to prevent everybody else from being run on, and then, somewhere down the line, especially if things start to turn better, I'm pretty sure that some of these banks are going to come up and go to the smaller banks and say, hey, you remember when I kept a bank run from happening in your bank? Yeah, you're my bank now. So we're going to change the shirts on everybody who works for you, and that's it's going to be over now. No, I haven't seen how China made peace between Saudi Arabia and Iran. I'll have to look into that. Unless, of course, if you have any news tips, they do go in the Discord, in articles worth investigating. I always look into news tips in there. Always. I don't always take them, but I always look into them. A lot of times it just because, and again, I do try to keep a certain level of news on this program. Part of it is I try to stay within the news sources that our friends to the left will come out and say, oh, you're just reading from right-wing blogs. Well, I don't want to read just from right-wing blogs, so I try to stay on their news and comment on what it is that they want the narrative to be and show how it's wrong through their narrative. The decision comes as the U.S. investors ready for the Federal Reserve policy meeting next week. Big tech names, Amazon and Alphabet, considered particularly sensitive to interest rates, along with other growth stocks, each gained around 4% in Thursday's session. So, we will see what happens with this and where this goes. I'm a little interested to see what happens at the policy meeting tomorrow. And unfortunately, the bad news is we do have to look at the layoffs. It seems to be good news in the layoff sector, which again, I don't know if this is affected by people having severance packages and not considered in the unemployment rate, but jobless claims tumbled to $192,000. Wow, I can read today. Jobless claims tumbled to 192,000 and show no signs of rising U.S. layoffs, in spite of the fact that we keep hearing about tech layoffs over and over again. From Jeffrey Bartash. The number of Americans who applied for unemployment benefits last week sank to 192,000 and returned close to historic lows, suggesting that layoffs in the U.S. remain quite low despite more stress in the economy. New U.S. applications for benefits fell by 20,000 from 212,000 in the prior week. The government said Thursday the numbers are seasonally adjusted. In early March, new unemployment filings topped the 200,000 mark for the first time in 2 months. Yet most of the increase 2 weeks ago took place in New York and was likely tied to school winter break. Claims in New York subsided last week and returned to normal. The number of people applying for jobless benefits is one of the best barometers of whether the economy is getting better or worse. New unemployment applications remain near historic low levels. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal had forecast new claims, a total of 205,000 in the 7 days ending on March 11th. 35 of the 53 U.S. states and territories report jobless claims showed a decrease last week. 18 posted an increase. So in spite of all the layoffs that we're seeing around tech, the initial jobless claims are staying extremely low right now, which again, that's something to watch as we look into what's going to happen tomorrow in the Fed meeting. Because that is one of the barometers that they use to decide what they're going to use for their rate level, is how many people are applying for jobless claims and how much strain there is on the economy. Now, I'm a little also interested to see where this goes with SVB now, with a lot of those people are probably about to be laid off, more on the tech, and starting to watch and see what happens when some of the severance packages start to wear off. But we'll see what happens with that. We are going to move into our foreign news immediately, and we are going to start with the USA Today. Video of jet dumping fuel on drone shows Russia is flat out lying, Poland to send fighter jets to Ukraine. From John Bacon, Maureen Grappi, and Jorge L. Ortiz. The Pentagon released footage Thursday of what it says is a Russian fighter jet dumping fuel on a U.S. drone, damaging the propeller and forcing U.S. controllers to crash land the device in the Black Sea on Tuesday. 2 Russian Su-27 aircraft conducted an unsafe and unprofessional intercept with an Air Force reconnaissance MQ-9 Reaper flying in international airspace, the Pentagon said in a release issued with the video. John Kirby, a spokesman for the National Security Council, said the video provided clear and convincing evidence of the account we laid out there and shows the Russians have been flat out lying. But he said it was not clear the pilot intended to strike the unmanned aircraft, so officials were unable to say if it was deliberate. Kirby said the U.S. is not seeking conflict with Russia. Bullshit. Still, the incident further escalated tensions between the two global superpowers, and already sharply at odds since Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year spurred the U.S. into providing billions of dollars in military aid to Kiev and leading to a coalition opposing the aggression. I'm going to take the background out just a little bit. There we go. And the Daily Wire actually has the video. Excuse me, I got the hiccups today. So let's have a look and see what's happening there. Yeah, you can see the propeller damage that's up there too, even with, I mean, it looks like it's going slow, but you can tell looking at that's still running at a very high rate of speed. I mean, the refresh rate on the screen is not very fast. I mean, we're not doing 60 hertz by any stretch of the imagination with that, but I know, like, the USA Today is saying, well, this proves that Russia's lying. I don't think Russia ever denied that this happened. I think they denied the fact that they bumped the propeller, but I don't think they denied that they intercepted this thing. So where are we getting the Russia's lying thing? Except for editorializing outlets like the USA Today trying to get Russia man bad going again. Russian military authorities say they will attempt to retrieve and study the wreckage of the American drone, which is the size of a small plane and is valued at $32 million. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Thursday that such a search was the prerogative of the military if they deem it necessary to do that in the Black Sea for our interest and for our security. Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said the drone sank into the waters more than 4,000 feet deep, probably was destroyed, and that mitigating measures were taken to ensure no intelligence could be accessed. The drones could be armed with Hellfire missiles, but U.S. officials say this drone was not armed. 2 Russian Su-27 fighters aggressively intercepted it Tuesday, demonstrating a lack of competence, according to a statement from the U.S. European Command. The initial statement said one of the fighter jets struck the propeller of the drone, nearly caused both aircraft to crash, and forced U.S. operators to bring the drone down in international waters. The Defense Ministry said the fighter jets were trying to identify the intruder, flying near Crimea, when the drone's own abrupt maneuvering caused it to crash. The ministry accused the U.S. of provoking the incident, saying the drone flew with its transponders off and violating the borders established by the Kremlin because of the war. So, and you know, even reading a bunch of Clancy novels like I have, I'm not 100% positive how airspace is determined. So I don't know if they can actually set up borders like that. I mean, given where this all happened, that would be in its best interest, but I don't know if they can just come off and say, these are borders now, you stay out. If anybody has any information on how that happens, I would love to have a discussion about that. And we can start a new topic and topic chat over that one and figure out, because I don't know. I will come out and completely say ignorance of that. If it had transponders off, that would actually be an interesting addition to this. Big if true. We don't know if this is true or not. And, I mean, realistically, we can look at a lot of this and see the people in charge of this country are looking to get us into a war. I am thoroughly convinced of that at this point. I don't want to see a war, but I think the people that are in this country are trying to get us into one. And if you want to be completely honest, I think Russia is too. Think about this for just a half a second. The Russian fighter jets were armed. If they were actually having a situation where this aircraft was violating its airspace, whether real or imagined at this point, the 7.62 millimeter cannon on the top would be enough to take that drone down. They would just sit there and start firing off 7.62s all over the thing. And if they really needed to, they have missiles. They have rockets. It's a fighter jet. It's armed. But they didn't. Especially given the fact that the USA Today is assuring us, just like CBS did, and Fox did, and CNN did a couple days ago when this first happened, that the drones can be armed with Hellfire missiles. I don't think they've got a turret gun, a minigun, like the fighter jets do, but they can be armed with missiles, which tells me, honestly, when I look at the footage of this, that this was the Russians, A, first trying to identify the aircraft, whether or not it had a transponder on or off at this point, trying to identify what it was, and then B, trying to provoke it and see if it fires off a missile, starting an international incident. It's a crafty way to go back and do things, but again, honestly, and this is what I said when we first talked about this, as a fighter pilot, if I saw something like this in our airspace and I was the one flying the plane, I'd probably do the same thing. Try to provoke it, try to see if it was interested in attacking or self-defense. One of the two. But we'll see what happens with this. Let's grab one from Fox 10. Pentagon video shows Russian jet dumping fuel on a U.S. drone. I don't know if this is, this is going to be the same thing that we saw already, but I wanted to see what this reporting was.
After what the U.S. called an unsafe and unprofessional intercept of a U.S. drone, officials now say the MQ-9's operators erased sensitive software from the drone before it crashed. As Russia now says they'll try to recover the wreckage from the Black Sea, the U.S. military insisted they will not stop flying reconnaissance drones over international waters.
The United States will continue to fly and to operate wherever international law allows.
The drone was taken down after a nearly 40-minute encounter southwest of Crimea when Russian Su-27 fighter jets flew in front of it and dumped fuel in its path. One jet flew underneath the drone, likely attempting to get in front of it while dumping fuel, and clipped the propeller on the back of the MQ-9.
Because of the damage, we were in a position to have to essentially crash it into the Black Sea.
But Russia denies the two aircraft collided. The Russian ambassador to the U.S. trying to calm tensions after the Biden administration summoned him to the State Department.
We prefer to not to create a situation where we can face unintended clashes or unintended incidents between the Russian Federation and the United States.
But with both U.S. and Russian aircraft operating over the Black Sea, as the nearby Russian invasion of Ukraine drags on, so too do the chances of a dangerous miscalculation.
We know that the intercept was intentional. We know that the aggressive behavior was intentional. We also know it was very unprofessional and very unsafe.
So I'm going to push back on Mark Milley on this because, well, number one, I can't stand Mark Milley, but number two, of course we know the intercept was intentional. An airplane or drone in this manner from a foreign country flying close to an active war zone. If it was me, I'd want to see what the damn thing was. I can't be the only person in this room that thinks that either.
The actual contact of the fixed-wing Russian fighter with our UAV, the physical contact of those two, not sure yet.
Russian aircraft have had other dangerous confrontations with the U.S. in the Black Sea before, such as this interception of a B-52 in 2020, like a scene from Top Gun, a Russian pilot staring down his American counterpart while flying dangerously close. Or this intercept of a U.S. P-3 plane in 2018. The Russian jet turned on its afterburners, causing the plane to shake. Pentagon says the incidents are getting worse.
There is a pattern of behavior recently where there is a little bit more aggressive actions being conducted by the Russians.
And I listened to this, and I listened to Mark Milley talk, and I listened to this newscaster talk and say, well, this is getting worse, and it's happening worse and worse. Dude, I know fighter pilots. I know two of them personally. And I'm not naming names, and I'm not throwing anybody on the bus, but if this was a Russian drone buzzing around the Caribbean, or Cape Cod or anything else like that, if our fighter pilots didn't shoot it down outright, they'd be doing a lot more harassing. And even worse, there'd be a lot of, look what I can do up in the air. So as you sit here and try to say, this is very unprofessional, we're going to wash our hand cleans of this, yeah, I'm going to call bullshit on that. Now, of course, my other question is why is a U.S. drone flying over this area specifically? And are they trying to come back out and entice something like this as well? And I don't know. I mean, this is the classified kind of stuff that we're not going to get answers to for another 50 years or however long it's going to be. But it's something to watch and something to see. From NBC, not an op-ed, even though the title makes it sound like it would be an op-ed. Like, I looked at this when I decided to put this in the show and said, is this an op-ed? And it's not. From NBC News, has Ukraine made a big mistake by refusing to retreat from Bakhmut? Which, by the way, tells me that some of this war is starting to get unpopular, even among the Ukraine flag in the bio left. From Mithil Agarwal, Ukraine says its future may depend on the brutal battles currently raging around Bakhmut, but there are growing splits between officials in Kiev and some Western military analysts over the best approach of what could be a decisive period in the conflict. For months, Ukraine's defense of the eastern city has held up at worn-down Russian forces while serving as a potent symbol of the country's defiance. Now, as Moscow's assault intensifies, the number of observers have questioned whether Kiev's decision to reinforce the area rather than retreat is being driven more by the political desire to avoid a high-profile defeat than the military logic. A long speculated Ukrainian withdrawal from the battered city has not materialized, with Volodymyr Zelensky and his military chiefs instead betting that they can buy critical time and benefits for a future counteroffensive by doubling down. Russian forces, led for months by mercenary fighters from the Wagner private military company and reinforced by newly mobilized reservists, have intensified their winter campaign to seize the city despite taking massive losses. It's a key prize for the Kremlin, and capturing it would be Russia's first major victory in nearly a year. That unceasing pressure has left Ukrainian troops surrounded on three sides and facing an increasingly dire situation. Ukrainians should have pulled back weeks ago, defense analyst Konrad Muzika, director of the Roshan Consulting based in Poland, which specializes in Russian and Belarus, told NBC News. But you can't say that. That's pro-Putin. That sounds like Putin propaganda right there. It just doesn't make sense to defend the city right now, said Muzika, who recently visited the area with colleagues. And every leftoid on Twitter immediately called him a Putin apologist. He was outlining a view that has become increasingly common among some close observers of the conflict. The defense of Bakhmut was crucially both strategically and symbolically, but the situation has deteriorated to the point that it may now be more costly than it's worth. Kiev was now suffering heavy losses, Mizuki said, and could be setting back its own hopes of a successful advance in the future. There's just one main road out of Bakhmut under Ukrainian control, with a mining hub that was once home to around 80,000 reduced to artillery craters and muddy trenches. But Ukrainian officials have doubled down on the strategy, insisting that holding the city was in fact critical to their future operations, even as losses mount on both sides. Ukraine's future hinges on the outcome of the battles raging in Bakhmut and in nearby areas, Zelensky said this week, as he underscored his commitment to holding out in the city. There was clear position of entire command, strengthen this sector and destroy occupiers to maximum, he said in nightly video address on Tuesday. Officials in Kiev have insisted that battle both restricts Russian advances by forcing Moscow to throw troops and equipment into Bakhmut while laying on the ground for future Ukrainian advances by allowing their own reserves more time to prepare. Their position was given public backing in Washington on Wednesday. Ukraine has fixed the Russian forces as that city, and they're exacting a very heavy cost on the Wagner Group and the Russian regular military, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, told a news briefing. I mean, from everything that I've seen about this thus far, I would honestly say that you're probably about right. And again, I'm going to go right into my regular rant about this. Bring up the map when I do so. Because I always come with the map. But one of the things to look at when we look at this is there seems to be, for the most part, a line from Kharkiv to Odessa. And there is next to no interest in going beyond that line. And honestly, as far as it goes for Bakhmut, where's Bakhmut? Let's find that. Bakhmut. Get a second map up here with that marker on there. Yeah, this is well inside that line. So again, we're from like here to here, Kharkiv to Odessa, you are well inside that line. And strategically, if I was a military strategist, I would pull everybody back from Bakhmut, because as a mining colony, it's worthless to anybody who's occupying it right now on either side. It's worthless. Let Russia expend its troops and its people trying to defend this position, and fall back to behind Kherson and see if they follow you. Or even fall back to like Dnipro or Zaporizhzhia or something like that, to see if they follow or see if they just stay there and keep using treasure and time and personnel to hold what is now a worthless mining colony that you're going to have to start pretty much from scratch at this point. For its part, Moscow hopes Bakhmut could open a path to capturing the rest of the surrounding region. The city lies in the northeastern part of Donetsk province, one half of Ukraine's industrial Donbas heartland, that has become the central target of the Kremlin's offensive. When even NBC News is starting to say that the Donbas seems to be the only place in question, you're starting to see some of the propaganda turn. Because remember, just 4 months ago, all we could hear was, Russia's going to come back. All they want to do is take Kiev. They're going to take Kiev. My theory, and of course, our media is never going to tell you this theory, if it's true or not, but my theory has always been, the people of the Donbas region wanted to leave Russia. They wanted to leave Ukraine. They wanted to be independent. They didn't even want to be a part of Russia. But they petitioned Kiev to have independence. Kiev said no. So they petitioned Russia to come back out and help them, and, now we're in this war. China getting involved with this from the Associated Press. China foreign minister in a rare call with Ukraine counterpart. In a rare phone conversation with his Ukrainian counterpart Thursday, China's foreign minister says Beijing is concerned about the year-old grinding conflict with Russia spinning out of control and urged talks on political solution with Moscow. Kiev is downstream of Chernobyl. I can't imagine why anyone would live there. MQ-9 Reaper cost in 2020 was $18 million. I think they said it was $23 million when they were talking about this the other day. Starting to get some of our audience back again from the other day, so that's cool. Thank you, everybody, by the way. And if you're lurking, chat at least once so I can say thank you on Monday. Love seeing everybody's names pop up here. Like my boy Arvold. Major victory. Just getting major victory here is a major victory in and of itself. See what I did there? King Gang told Dmytro Kuleba that China was always upheld an objective and fair stance on the Ukraine issue, has committed itself to promoting peace and advancing negotiations, and calls on the international community to create conditions for peace talks, China's foreign ministry said in a statement posted on its website. In 2022, China declared it had a no-limits friendship with Russia and has refused to condemn Moscow's invasion while condemning the Western sanctions and accusing NATO and the US of provoking Russia into military action. I'm gonna just go on a limb here and tell you all that China really doesn't have a side in this. They just hope that everybody keeps shoveling more money into cheap plastic crap from Chinese factories. That's China's position in this. China and Ukraine have retained diplomatic ties, but their top officials are believed to have only sporadic contact. Beijing has also accused the West of fanning the flames by providing Ukraine with weaponry to fend off the Russian invasion. A Chinese peace proposal for Ukraine issued Friday urged a ceasefire and peace talks, drawing praise from Russia but dismissals from the West. U.S. officials have repeatedly accused China of considering the provision of weapons for Russia for use in the war. At a March 7th news conference, Keane insinuated America was undermining efforts for peace in Ukraine in order to extend the conflict for its own benefit. You don't say! Saying, there seems to be an invisible hand pushing for the protraction and escalation of the conflict, and using the Ukraine crisis to serve a certain geopolitical agenda. You don't say! The foreign ministry made no mention of Keane repeating such remarks to Kuleba or of raising the peace proposal. We hope that all parties remain calm, rational, and restrained, resume peace talks as soon as possible, and push for a return to the track of the political settlement. Keane was quoted as saying, "Yeah, I see a lot of people." And yes, I know. Beijing shipping rifles, body armor to Moscow on drudge. Yes, I understand that there's the propaganda side of this, but, I mean, let's be realistic. even if Volodymyr Zelensky got a wild hair up his ass one day and decided to say, okay, I have had enough of seeing people go to meat grinder. I sit down in Moscow, we have conversation. I don't think it'd be his own people pushing back at this point. It would be every leftoid on Twitter would suddenly accuse Zelensky of being a Trump puppet. You know it as well as I do too, by the way. Because you can all imagine it. You can see it. Xi Jinping is due to visit Russia possibly early next week, although neither side has confirmed any exact dates. And again, China's position is just that they want to control the global economy by selling cheap crap to everybody. Alright. On our side, on the NATO side of things, from Axios, Poland becomes the first NATO member to offer Ukraine fighter jets. From Jacob Knudsen. Polish President Andrzej Duda said on Thursday that Poland will transfer 4 of its MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine in the coming days and plans to send others as well, AP reports. What do you want to bet that we start getting precision strikes on things on the Russian side? The transfer would make Poland the first NATO member to answer Kiev's call for aircraft to help further prevent Russia from securing air superiority over Ukraine. The Ukrainian Air Force already operates MiG-22 jets, so they'll likely be able to use the Polish aircraft right away. Duda said Poland will transfer the additional planes after they have been serviced, per the Associated Press. Duda did not say whether other countries plan to join Poland in fulfilling Ukraine's request for aircraft. A Polish government spokesman said on Wednesday that other countries have also pledged MiGs to Ukraine, but he did not name them. John Kirby told reporters during a call that Poland's decision did not change the Biden admin's position on supplying Ukraine with the aircraft. Well, what is the Biden admin's position on this, realistically? It's not popular enough in my country to do it yet, but we're watching the polls, man, and we'll get them over there as soon as we think we'll get reelected for doing so. Which, by the way, is going to make this a lot more tense because, I mean, this is... I can see where this would be seen from the Russian side as an act of aggression from NATO at this point. For something, again, that they don't seem to want. But that's where we go. Kamala Harris, talking about Russia. Kamala Harris shares her thoughts on Ron DeSantis calling the war in Ukraine a territorial dispute. We'll listen to this, and then I will, as usual, add my 2 cents to it.
What do you make of someone like Governor DeSantis, who, while there is a strain of isolationism all throughout American history, is saying that this is not in America's strategic interest to side with the Ukrainians and offer them the material aid they need to defend themselves against an invading power?
So, as vice president, I have now met with over 100 world leaders. Presidents, prime ministers, chancellors, and kings. And when you have had the experience of meeting and understanding the significance, again, of international rules and norms and the importance of the United States of America standing firm and clear about the significance of sovereignty and territorial integrity,
like our southern borders are?
Significance of standing firm against any nation that would try to take by force another nation. If you really understand the issues, you probably would not make statements like that.
I don't understand how this woman can sit here and so definitively say absolutely nothing. And she's very good at it. Like, she does it constantly. She's so forceful every time she says, again, literally nothing. there was no sense to what they said. This, of course, being in retaliation to Ron DeSantis saying that Ukraine was not a U.S. priority and that this was little more than a territorial dispute, which I don't agree with Ron DeSantis on much. Actually, I do agree with him on quite a few things. I just don't like the way that he governs, is pretty much the reason that I don't think that I could vote for him. But that's what I've been saying, not from the beginning. From the beginning, I did drink some of the Kool-Aid and think, oh, well, Russia's going in to try to take over Ukraine. And I hate both sides of it. But the more I've analyzed this, the more that I've seen what the fighting has been, this does seem more like this is a territorial dispute. On the other side of it, the war pigs, Senate Republicans, distance themselves from DeSantis' Ukraine stance. Well, again, that's because they all want to be into this region as far and as fast as they can. Let's listen to Lindsey Graham. Said nobody ever. Okay, come on, pause, so I can get back to the beginning. So I can kill the music and put some volume into this.
To say this doesn't matter is to say that war crimes don't matter. So he's committing war crimes on an industrial scale. Putin.
Shut up! You have been using the same tired line since Iraq, you war pig moron.
If you think defunding the police is a bad idea, which I do, just forgiving and forgetting war crimes like this is a bad idea. It makes the world unstable. He's going to go beyond Ukraine, Putin. If you don't get that, you're not listening to what he's saying. I think the governor of Florida has been a great governor, but in my opinion, if you don't get Ukraine right, this is a chance to stop Putin before it gets to be a bigger war, and China's watching.
Come on, sugar. I think DeSantis, he's governing so well. He can put that authority down on me anytime. But he's not enough into the world police thing, and I can't be like that. I would have to see an indicator that Michelle Obama has a desire to be president. That's been, again, my entire reason for not going down that rabbit hole with Michelle Obama, with Big Mike, is because I don't believe that she has come out and said she has no desire to be in politics. Now, if she comes out and changes her mind at some point, I will eat my words, absolutely. But I will take what she said at face value because, she saw the personal attacks coming to her husband and against her kids. Why would she want to put her kids through that again? I don't think that she will be. Senate Republicans on Wednesday signaled growing concerns about Florida Governor DeSantis' stance on Ukraine after he likened Russia's invasion of the country to a territorial dispute and argued becoming further involved is not vital to a national interest for the U.S. Multiple Republicans took aim at the remarks, which came in a lengthy statement to Fox News' Tucker Carlson, and indicated they believe DeSantis is basing his stance on politics, not national security interests. What national security? Ukraine is here. The Donbass region is here. The closest point to the Donbass region is Eastport, Maine. Can somebody explain to me what security interest, what national security interest is at play here? It does seem consistent with many of the things we're hearing on television and certain friends in the Republican Party. Todd Young told The Hill, but I don't think this is a long game political strategy and certainly not a long game national security strategy. I'm really concerned he and other members of our party aren't prepared to show resolve in the region because it will have broader implications in the Asian Pacific and Middle East and beyond. This is the one thing that Putin seems to be hoping for right now, which is just to outlast the US. Young continued, it seems plain that if we're not assisting Ukraine in our efforts right now, then we can't line our pockets with money from Northrop Grumman. And we're going to have NATO treaty allies with the Russian army standing on their own border. Again, the assumption being that Russia wants the rest of Ukraine, and I don't see any indication of that. Number two, Belarus exists. I don't know if you guys realize that, but you already have Russian troops on your border. DeSantis was one of 11 current and potential GOP presidential candidates to whom Carlson sent questionnaires on the subject, but he's easily received the most blowback from top Republicans. Yeah, the war pigs are coming back to the top. They got rid of their anti-war leader, and now they're coming back up to the top. I don't agree with DeSantis, the number 5 Senate Republican, Shelley Moore Capito, told The Hill. I think this is much bigger than a territorial dispute. Roger Wicker of Mississippi, the ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, said he completely disagreed with DeSantis' statement. While Lindsey Graham told CNN to say this doesn't matter, is to say war crimes don't matter, sugar. Now, I got some certain dark-skinned friends out there that are performing war crimes in my southern region, but those war crimes matter too, but not in the same way that these ones do. Other Republicans, however, were more willing to give the Florida governor a pass on the matter. Tom Tillis, who criticized DeSantis in the immediate aftermath of his remarks, told The Hill on Wednesday that the statement is more nuanced than he anticipated. I don't think that it's alarming. If you read some of his full statements, I think that he was trying to recognize some of the legitimate concerns that maybe some folks in our base have, Tillis said. When I saw the top-line report, I was concerned, but on second reflection, I don't think it's get out, leave, it's more nuanced. Tillis also echoed the sentiment Marco Rubio shared a day earlier, that DeSantis is not privy to classified information about the broader context and the arguments for being there. That's a fair assessment. Now, there are things out there that the American people don't know about the Ukrainian situation, that Marco Rubio knows. There are things out there that Biden knows that we don't know. And there's really no national security apparatus out there that requires Ron DeSantis' approval. So there is information about this that he doesn't have. And again, I pointed out and I made the initial statement of, okay, show me where Donbass is a national security situation when the closest point in the U.S. to the Donbass region is right here in Maine. There may be some classified information out there that turns what I just said completely on its head. I doubt it. I really do, but there may be something out there that, the public at large doesn't get to know. That says, yes, we must hold on to Ukraine for severe national security reasons, otherwise U.S. citizens will die. Again, I don't buy it either, but I don't have all the information. Alright, but that's what we have on the Ukraine situation. We're going to do a little bit of looking in the banking. Mr. Scott says a board of governors is a thing that people should be more aware of. I am aware of that, by the way. And they got paid too, because they're the ones that did the lockdown. Yeah, I didn't know that the Board of Governors, the Governors Association rather, is what it's called, was a thing until, in the midst of the Pinko Pox pandemic. I guess I'd heard it in passing before, but I didn't really start looking into it until the lockdowns happened. And realized that they had meetings with the chief executive as well. Let's talk banking and a tale of two parties. Top Democrats say the FDIC should re-examine $250,000 deposit insurance threshold. From Ben Ziesloft. Elizabeth Warren and Maxine Waters asserted that the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation should re-examine the $250,000 deposit insurance threshold on bank accounts. The vast majority of deposits at Silicon Valley Bank, which offered services to nearly half of the venture-backed technology and healthcare firms in the U.S. before its collapse last week, exceeded the $250,000 threshold insured by the FDIC. Regulators scrambled to guarantee all deposits at Silicon Valley Bank such that the remainder of the financial system, in which roughly half the deposits surpassed $250,000, would remain safeguarded against bank runs. Waters, a senior member of the House Financial Services Committee, which is scary as shit, said in an interview with the New York Times, a former newspaper, that lawmakers should contemplate increasing the deposit insurance threshold when you have something like Silicon Valley Bank with over 90% of its depositors uninsured. She remarked, "Do we increase the amount of premiums that banks will pay in order to have a bigger insurance fund, or do we just remain the way that we are and take it on a one-by-one basis for consideration?" The current threshold of $250,000 is suitable for most individuals, yet businesses such as the one served by Silicon Valley Bank often retain larger sums to conduct operations and pay employees. The FDIC now directs holdings maintained by Silicon Valley Bank, while the Treasury Department and Federal Reserve vowed that depositors both above and below the $250,000 limit will have their assets insured. Signature Bank was likewise closed by regulators on Sunday. Waters said that any acquisition dealing with Silicon Valley Bank should avoid consolidation with major financial institutions. "I'm not interested in mergers and so much," she added. "I don't want this country to become a country where we rely on just 4 or 5 big banks." Well, then I would start rolling back some of the regulations to let little startups come back up and start to compete in the regional sense. As far as this goes, I actually don't think that you should be raising the $250,000 limit. I mean, it's good to have that in place. Again, and this is coming from my old Democrat mind, by the way. From back when I was a Democrat and believed that they were for the little people. So we're reaching back to pre-changing my name, J. Edgar. We are reaching all the way back to 18, 19-year-old me. When I say something like this, back when the FDIC insurance threshold was $100,000. And I think that that's good. If the government has to get involved in any of that, then I think that it's good that it goes to $100,000. Basically enough to make sure that the little guy gets his money back. Gets the $3,000 that's in his bank account, or the $5,000, or whatever the hell it winds up being. Or in all of his bank accounts, in that matter. And in the case of the bigger ones, now with Silicon Valley Bank, this was a bit of a different story, because this spiraled so fast on a bank run that it just failed instantly, and the FDIC had to come in at 9 o'clock in the morning. But under most circumstances, you do have enough of an indicator that, much to Maxine Waters' dismay, you can have another bank come in here and pick up the pieces and keep things going. The employees wear a different shirt, your debit card gets a different color on it, but other than that, nothing changes. And in most situations, 99.9% of the situations that this is going to, even with a bank run, that this is going to fall into, there's enough time to come in here and have another one of these greedy vultures. And again, we're going back to 19-year-old me's thought on this. One of these greedy vultures come in and take up the assets of the regional bank and make sure that everything goes off without a hitch. But the FDIC wasn't there to bail out every single billionaire in this country. It was put there for the little guy. And if you want me to be completely honest with you, I don't think it should be $250,000. But I'm not in government. No, I didn't think the banks were for the little guy. I thought that the FDIC was for the little guy. I know what the banks are out for. I've known that for my entire life. the banks are out to make money. So, I'm actually a little shocked to hear this coming from Democrats, who have assured me, or attempted to assure me, even after I walked away from their party, for the last 38 years of my life, that they are for the little guy. Even after I kept seeing through it, they still try to convince me of that. And on the other side, which is also tremendously stupid, by the way, government should temporarily back all bank deposits. House Republican says, what government program, by the way, have you ever seen that was temporary? Can you show me one? A government program that has been temporary? And this, by the way, is coming from both sides of the aisle on this one. Show me a temporary government program that stayed temporary. From Alex Nitzberg. Republican Rep. Blaine Luetkemeyer of Missouri believes the U.S. government should temporarily offer blanket insurance for all bank deposits in a bid to prevent massive flows from funds from smaller banks to larger institutions, amid widespread panic surrounding the financial system. If you don't do this, there's going to be a run on your smaller banks, Luetkemeyer said, according to Politico. Everyone's going to take their money out and run for JP Morgan and these too big to fail banks. And they're going to get bigger, and everyone else is going to get smaller and weaker. And it's going to be really bad for our system. And then we're going to raise more regulations and make sure that small competitors can't come back and rise up again. Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank both collapsed recently, but while depositors who held funds at those institutions are being bailed out and will not therefore incur losses, the bank failures have sparked fears of contagion and further financial havoc. It's coming, by the way. The thought process here is that this is a contagion that could spread across the entire banking system if it's not contained and if people don't stop and be calm about their assessment of the situation. The lawmaker said, according to the outlet. This is a Chicken Little situation. You know, the sky is falling. Everyone runs around like that. The whole thing is going to implode. Luetkemeyer, who served the U.S. House of Representatives for over a decade, suggested taking action by declaring that for another 12 months, here are 6 months, we're going to guarantee you every single deposit in this country and every bank until we get this interest rate situation resolved and these banks get back on solid footing. Politico reported that the lawmaker later altered his stance on the potential time frame, with a spokesperson indicating the guarantee could last perhaps 30 to 60 days. I hate to tell you this, but the time frame for the mission into Afghanistan was also 30 to 60 days. 20 years later, we'll still be talking about the Luetkemeyer guarantee if this goes through. There is no such thing as a temporary government program. Yeah, I'd probably be in the same place, Mr. Scott. From MarketWatch, I'd be doing just fine if I could leverage my money 7 times over and lend it out at 20%. Yeah, probably. I think a lot of us would be higher on the horse. Fed announces new emergency loan program for banks to ease contagion risk from Silicon Valley Bank. Again, coming directly out of your taxpayer money. From Greg Robb. The Federal Reserve on Sunday announced a new emergency loan program to bolster the capacity of the banking system in the wake of the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. The program will help assure banks have the ability to meet the needs of all their depositors. Under the new program, banks and other lenders will be able to pledge treasuries and mortgage-backed securities for cash. This will eliminate the need for a bank to quickly sell its assets in time of stress. Which, by the way, is not capitalism. Some soft brain over on Twitter earlier today had said that, hey, why does capitalism need to be bailed out by socialism every 4 and 5 years? To which a number of people pointed out the fact that what we're seeing here is not capitalism. It's corporatism. With an edge on fascism, because this is corporatocracy blended with the government. This is not capitalism. If this was capitalism, there would be no Silicon Valley Bank. This will eliminate the need for a bank to quickly sell its assets in time of stress. The central bank said it's prepared to address any liquidity pressures that may arise. Translation: money printer go brrrr. I could get behind that. I've thought about running for government office before. I don't know how well I could do, but I've thought about it. I wanted to, when Tammy Baldwin was up, not this past time, but the time before. Although she's up again in 24. But in 24, or not in 24, in 17, I had all my signatures set up because I was going to run against Tammy Baldwin. Then my girlfriend broke up with me and I had no idea where I was going to be living come election time, so that took priority. But yes, I had my signatures gathered to go run against Baldwin for her Senate seat in Wisconsin. The program is called the Bank Term Funding Program. Janet Yellen approved a plan to provide up to $25 billion as a backstop for the new program. Yeah, where's the money coming from, Janet? Damn it, Janet! Unfortunately, I don't think you'd have been able to because I live in Wisconsin, and if I remember correctly, you said you're in Colorado. Yeah, it would be. Well, there'd be a lot more people talking in it, I can tell you that. Let's see. The central bank said that the capital and liquidity positions of the U.S. banking system are strong and the U.S. financial system is resilient. I'm going to go out there. A little bit of side note off of this. At some point, I do want to take some time and spend some time west of the Mississippi, because I barely have in my life. I went on a trip down to Arizona, but I didn't drive out there. I flew out there. But other than that, I've had little incursions into Iowa and Minnesota, and once into Missouri, and that's really the most west of the Mississippi I've ever gone. I've done a lot of time east of the Mississippi, partially because I live east of the Mississippi, but I want to see more of what's over on that side of the river. Alright, what else do we have? Moving on to Biden stuff. Actually, we're almost out of our main news, so we've got plenty of time for things I like and things that I hate. I said at the top this was a light news day today. Haley Biden revealed his new Biden family member who got China cash from the New York Post. Stephen Nelson reporting. President Brandon's daughter-in-law Haley is the mysterious new Biden family member who got paid Chinese cash in 2017. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer revealed exclusively to the Post on Thursday. Comer said the payments to first son Hunter's sister-in-law turned former lover were revealed in subpoenaed bank records. The records show Haley Biden received $35,000, and why do I have Lindsey Graham talking in my ear?
War crimes on an industrial scale, Putin. If you think defunding
Why
the
do I have
police
Lindsey
is a bad
Graham
idea,
talking in
which
my
I
ear?
do,
Shut up, you. Let's see. The records show Haley Biden received $35,000 over 2 transfers in 2017 from Biden family associate Rob Walker, who got $3 million on March 1st, 2017 from State Energy HK Limited, a firm affiliated with CEFC China Energy. President Brandon, who allegedly was the big guy I mentioned in communications about the same Chinese venture, dined at Haley's residence last Friday during his regular weekend trip home to Delaware. It's unclear if they discussed the looming bombshell, which Comer publicly teased Monday night on Fox News' Hannity. You should, by the way. I will say, and I don't know if Luke Wee is still here, But I will say right off the bat that you will never regret having a CDL. Because even in the tightest of times financially, this is not official financial advice, but this is a little bit of life experience advice. I can say you will never regret having a CDL. No matter what happens in this country financially, no matter what, a truck is going to bring a good to your front door. You will always be employable with a CDL. Even if every other option that you have runs out, you will always be employable with a CDL. And you even have options for local. I don't know if you're in the Discord or not still, because I know we had that falling out at the one point. But if you are, get in touch with Saint, because he did it for a while, and he's off the road now, but he was able to use that as a big springboard for his life. And he's doing really well because of his time trucking. He's doing really, really well now because of it, because basically he was able to bank most of the money he got from it. Getting a CDL is always a good idea. Even if you never use it. One transfer to Haley from Robinson Walker LLC was for $25,000. On March 20th, 2017, Comer staff wrote in a Thursday morning memo to committee members. Another $10,000 was transferred on February 13th, raising many questions according to a committee aide because it came shortly before rather than after the $3 million haul. The information creates an unexpected new avenue for investigation, and the memo notes the bank records didn't include the first names of all Biden family recipients, meaning there may be others involved in addition to Hunter and first brother James Biden. So, there's no indication as to what this money was for yet. It'd be interesting to see what an investigation turns up because of, everything that we're looking into here. And also how well the tracks are covered. And by the way, we are going to keep watching this here for right now because we've got so much dark news on here, and I love English bulldogs. I think English bulldogs are adorable. Yes, even with a knife in his mouth. Now, trying to get a knife out of the mouth of a creature with that powerful of a jaw, good luck, but that's adorable. Alright, that's a cat. I'm not as much into cats. Alright, from CNN. The family of Rasheem Carter, a black man found dead in Mississippi, alleged that he was murdered. Here's what we know. From Dakeen Andone, Ryan Young, and Kevin Conlon. The family of a black man found dead in Mississippi last year is calling for more thorough investigation into his disappearance and death, alleging he was murdered after he told his mother he was being followed by white men in trucks. What we have here is a Mississippi lynching, Benjamin Crump, because of course it's Ben Crump, a high-profile civil rights attorney and lawyer from Rasheem Carter's family, said in a news conference on Monday. Crump told reporters an autopsy by the state medical examiner's office found Carter's body had been dismembered. The autopsy did not specify dismemberment, but noted the remains contained about 24 bones, as well as smaller bone fragments that were found across 2 acres. The autopsy also noted evidence that Carter's remains had been scavenged by animals, according to a copy contained by CNN. The condition of Carter's remains meant the state's medical examiner could not reasonably determine the cause of death. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation said in a statement. Crump on Monday called the U.S. Department of Justice to open a federal investigation into Carter's death, something the Smith County Sheriff Joel Houston, whose office is the lead investigative agency, told CNN he would welcome. The investigation, he said, remains ongoing, but authorities have so far not found evidence to corroborate the allegation he was being followed. To this date, we do not have the evidence of foul play, but everything is on the table, Houston told CNN. Until we turn over every stone, it's still an open investigation. Here's what we know so far. His body was found a month after he went missing. Carter, the father of a 7-year-old girl, and known around his community in Jefferson County for being an excellent cook, was reported missing in early October. according to a news release at the time from the city of Laurel, Mississippi. Police department, he said, was last seen October 2nd at a Super 8 motel, the release said. The remains were found a month later, per the Smith County Sheriff's Office, in a wooded area just south of Taylorsville, a town around 20 miles west of Laurel in the state's southeastern quadrant. At this time, we have no reason to believe foul play was involved, but the case is still under investigation, the Sheriff's Office said in a Facebook post, which was later edited to stress the investigation was still ongoing. The state medical examiner's office could neither determine the cause nor manner of death, according to a report detailing the findings. These records describe Carter's remains, which it said were found over approximately 2 acres, as partial and incomplete, and said they were characterized by advanced decomposition. When did they say this happened? October 2nd in a Super 8 motel. So, and I don't know what the climate is down there, but I know that it's typically really muggy, really humid, but this is also in October, so this could be where it starts getting cold. So my question here is there advanced decomposition because of the weather, number one? And then number two, was there actually an animal attack there? I know that this actually, and I didn't take this one specifically, directly, initially, because of the fact that it did seem like it was foul play being covered up. But now that I've seen some more details about this, I do question about that. One of the big reports that he was decapitated, which typically comes out to say foul play. But also a tussle with a big animal could be in play as well, or scavengers. Carter's family is skeptical, believes he may have been targeted before his death. At Monday's news conference, his mother read text messages she received from her son on October 1st, indicating he believed there were people who wanted to kill him. At some point, Tiffany Carter said, "My son told me there was 3 truckloads of white guys trying to kill him. She told him to go to the police, and she said, but alleged that authorities did not help when he asked for their help." Crump also told reporters that sometime after Carter went missing, but before his remains were found, someone used or attempted to use his credit card. "It shouldn't have been have to be this difficult for this broken-hearted mother to get answers," said Crump, who has represented numerous families of high-profile things that he can go back out and grift racially off of. Floyd, Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Jacob Blake, etc. I hate to say it, I don't think we're going to get answers from this. I think it's a possibility that he was targeted, especially in Mississippi. I don't think we're ever going to know, because of the amount of time between when he went missing and when his remains were found, and the amount of decomposition that was there. And that's unfortunate. It really is. I know that every family would like to get closure, no matter what the conditions are. That's just a family thing. But Ben Crump getting in there and saying, "Oh man, there was white boys in there that was following him before this," tells me that he's just out to make a buck. From the Daily Wire, the COVID Origins Intel Bill. Toke University hired no decision on if Biden will sign unanimously passed bill to declassify Pinko-Pox Origins Intel. World's Worst White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said Thursday that President Brandon made no decision on whether he will sign into law a bill declassifying intelligence on the origins of the Pinko-Pox. That was unanimously passed in both chambers of Congress. The legislation was introduced by Josh Hawley and has been fiercely opposed by Communist China, which has pressured him to abandon the legislation. Diversity Hire said the admin was looking at it when asked by a reporter about the matter during a press briefing. Let's listen.
I wondered if you do have an answer now as to whether or not the president will sign the COVID Origins Intelligence Bill that was unanimously passed.
So it's So we are, thank you for the question. I know I was asked about it, I believe, on the plane on Monday, as you just mentioned. So we're looking at it. We have continued to share information with members of Congress. And as you know, just months after the president came into office, he asked his intelligence community to double down and to take a look of the origins of the COVID origins, because we believe it's important to get to the bottom of this and to get, and also if once the intelligence community has made the assessments, clearly we would share that with the public. As it relates to the legislation, we're going to we're going to take a look at it, and certainly we'll have more to share.
But you haven't made a decision whether we will
No,
sign it or not.
we're just taking a look. We're taking a look into the bill. Go ahead.
So I do have a couple things on this one. Number one, yes, we should declassify absolutely every piece of intel on the origins of the pinko pox. Number one, along with numerous pages upon pages of other things that the federal government has classified. There's a lot of stuff that should not be classified in our government that's classified. With that being said, one thing that I have always urged to the American people, because it was unanimously passed in both chambers, which means 98 senators, minus McConnell and Fetterman, and 417 representatives all said yes to this, with 0 no votes. Anytime they all agree, you should be wary. Anytime they all agree, there is an ulterior motive somewhere. And I don't know what this is. From Forbes. The FBI and DOJ are investigating ByteDance's use of TikTok to spy on journalists. There's a reason that I don't use this service. And again, I don't care who else uses it. I really don't. If that's what you want to do, it's on you. I've never directly watched TikTok, but I've seen other people do it, and it just seems dumb to me. Now, apparently they've got a live function. Girl that I'm fairly interested in uses the live function for longer form content on the platform. I don't watch, obviously. But with that being said, again, it's on top of the spying and the potential for spying and everything else with that. It just, like, I've seen other people watching, and it seems like you're just sitting there watching as, here's 30 seconds of video. Oh, boom, here's 30 seconds of video. And you keep watching because they hook you. And apparently the algorithm is ironclad. I don't know. Again, I don't use it. I don't get it. This is from Emily Baker White. The FBI and DOJ are investigating the events that led TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to use the app to surveil American journalists, including this reporter, according to sources familiar with the department's actions. According to a source in position to know, the DOJ Criminal Division Fraud Section, working alongside the Office of the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, has subpoenaed the information from ByteDance regarding efforts by its employees to access U.S. journalists' locations, information, or other private user data using the TikTok app, according to 2 sources. The FBI has been conducting interviews related to the surveillance. ByteDance's use of the app to surveil U.S. citizens was first reported by Forbes in October and confirmed by an internal company investigation in December. We have strongly condemned the actions of the individuals found to have been involved, and they are no longer employed by ByteDance. Our internal investigation is still ongoing, and we will cooperate with any official investigations when brought to us, said ByteDance's spokesperson Jennifer Banks. TikTok did not respond to a request for comment. And yeah, they're spying on people. So is Facebook. So is Twitter. So is that little device you carry in your pocket everywhere you go. So is YouTube. They're all spying on you. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. Most of the people using this app don't really have that much interesting about them to spy on. Like, there are people like journalists and government officials who probably should not be using it. That is between them and their employers. But the 12-year-old dancing star who gets 12 million botted views every time she shakes her underage, yeah, I'm not even going to go down that road. But every time some teen or tween goes out there and does something stupid for the clicks, yeah, their lives are really not that interesting. That's why they're doing stupid stuff for clicks. So, I don't expect this is going to go anywhere. I don't expect this is going to be some major revelation that China knows everything about the American people right now. And honestly, I think that the majority of that's going to be coming out there and raising more tensions with China, which seems to be the next pet project for the war hawks. From the Daily Wire, DOJ warns court to expect hundreds more indictments over January 6th. Yeah, the narrative is blowing up, so now we have to get as many people into the courtroom as we possibly can, from Tim Pierce. The physics girl long COVID thing. I've heard it mentioned, but no, I've not looked into it. The DOJ could indict more than 1,000 additional people on charges related to the January 6th Selfie Fest. The DOJ sent a letter to Chief Judge Beryl Howell of the District Court for the District of Columbia on October 28th, warning that the court should prepare for another 700 to 1,200 defendants, according to Bloomberg, which is Ron Helton's favorite publication from his favorite politician. Which reviewed the letter and first reported it Wednesday. At the time, the DOJ had filed charges against roughly 900 people. The number of DOJ arrests has since risen to roughly 1,000. The department's estimate of the remaining cases correspond with roughly the number of individuals that officials have estimated entered the U.S. Capitol during the Selfie Fest, somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 people. The current number of arrests and persecutions has strained resources at the DOJ, Federal Public Defender's Office, and court system. DOJ officials have made clear in public statements that the department is committed to seeing every potential case through. That's right. If you stand against the current administration, you are not safe. They will hunt you down and they will put you in front of a judge. Typically one that they shopped for. In the months and years to come, the FBI Washington Field Office will continue to partner with the U.S. Attorney's Office across the country to bring justice to those who attempted to use violence to substitute their will over the will of the people. Oh my God. This is the most propagandized event in U.S. history. So, they're going to drag as many people in front of the court as they can. Alright, and before we do things that I like and things that I hate, I just want to talk just a bit about what Shapiro has to say, which, by the way, I've not watched this video. I kind of have an idea of Ben's position on this, but I have not actually watched the video. But I have seen some of the reactions coming because Jason Campbell has got to propagandize this as well. So we'll read the tweet first, and then we will listen to Ben, and we'll talk about why Jason Campbell is wrong and why the people who are spreading this around are also wrong. Jason Campbell tweets out, Ben Shapiro. School lunches are not going to solve the problem of child hunger at any serious level. Adding, it does not take that much money to feed a child. Let's listen. Let's listen to what Ben has to say. Taken out of context, of course.
If government can protect kids from the sick radical left, shouldn't they also protect kids from hunger? Wouldn't it make sense to strengthen food stamps and have school lunch be free, since some kids are in school lunch debt? Well, I mean, if you are a parent, school lunches are not going to solve the problem of child hunger at any serious level. If there is a problem with children actually starving, that is a child endangerment scenario in which CPS needs to be called. If you're talking about like actual child starvation, the truth is it does not take that much money to feed a child. I know I have 3 of them. You should be feeding your child before you feed yourself. It's that simple. There's a much deeper problem at work than school lunches if kids are legitimately starving.
All right, so it's actually a lot worse than I expected it to be from somebody who shills for the government constantly. Both of these people are in the wrong. Ben calling for government intervention, and then Jason Campbell coming out and trying to come out and say, oh, no, we just need to give away more people. Look, I like the Steve Miller Band as much as the next person. But when they sing about time slipping into the future and their activist stance in that song, shoe the babies that don't have any shoes on their feet, house the people living in the street, feed the people that don't have enough to eat. Yes, that is a good long-term or short-term rather solution. That's why private charity exists, because yes, of course, we can go back out and solve the situation temporarily. I actually bring back and think to myself what had happened when I was about in the bottom of my turmoil financially, which also led a little bit through with my turmoil emotionally when I was deep in my depression. And honestly, I had a cousin that was there who was helping me out more than he should have. You know, he would throw me some cash or slip me from cash and pay me a lot more for the work that I was doing for him than I probably needed to get paid, because he knew that I was struggling. He knew that I was having problems. And a lot of times he'd just, he'd take me out somewhere. He's like, hey, you want to go to this restaurant here? And then he'd just buy. When I still tried to come up and have some meager self-respect and buy for myself, he would just come up and buy and throw the money down and throw the drinks down on the bar and make sure that everything was going, which solved the problem temporarily, which is, again, in Jason Campbell's position, what this would do. It would solve a temporary problem, a temporary issue. But it was always temporary, and until the underlying problem in my life was fixed, which number 1 was location, and number 2, I'm going to be completely honest, and I didn't start making it until I kicked the depression that I had underlying. Until you start to address the underlying causes of what's causing the inert poverty, yeah, you can throw money at it all day long, but it's not going to do a goddamn thing. And these people are going to continue. And again, real example right here. This guy right here. Of somebody who, until you fix the underlying problem, you're just going to keep spiraling into the same problem over and over and over and over again. Again, throw cash at it all day long. And in the situation that they're in, yeah, okay, we can keep them from going hungry for a day or a week or a month or something like that. But we need to sit back and understand why they're struggling, why this is happening over and over again, and why this seems to be expanding among more people. The underlying cause of why the people are poor and unable to feed the kids that they had needs to be addressed. And yet, Jason Campbell's tweet is filled with comments who are saying, oh, well, food stops children from being hungry. Yeah, for a day. For a day. But if they go back in and, they're in the situation where mom and dad are feeding themselves before the kids, or any other number of situations that are there, then the next day, it's just going to happen over again. Yeah, this one. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure food is the best way to address hunger. And if it doesn't cost that much, why are we even arguing about it here? So, that is what we see for that. All right. Now, let's do a few things that I like and a bunch of things that I hate today. What's weird is that one of the things that I like, it came from Vice, of all things. I don't think Vice intended for this to be something that I like. Alright, let's read from the Daily Wire. Yes, the year has come. Now, there's actually been some confusion about this because, and I don't know who's right either, because the birth of Willie Nelson happened, let's see, if he's going to be 90 this year. Means that he was born 51 years before I was born. I've been told for my entire life that we share the same birthday. Until just recently, I found out that now people are saying that he was born a day before me. And by just recently, I mean like 8 days ago. But regardless, I mean, one of the big screw the government people, one of my heroes, gets to live to see 90. And I like that. The Daily Wire reports Willie Nelson to celebrate 90th birthday with star-studded summer concert tour, which also means, yes, he's getting back out there and playing music. I love Willie Nelson's music. His old music, his new music. And again, part of that came from the fact that I've been told for my entire life that I share a birthday with him. Country music legend Willie Nelson announced Tuesday that he'll celebrate his 90th birthday with a star-studded summer concert tour, headlining music festivals across the U.S. I hope I get a ticket. If anybody can find out if he's going to be anywhere near the Twin Cities and can get me a ticket, that would be the best birthday present you could get me. I'm not asking her anything, but this is something that I would love to do. Go to a Willie concert and smoke weed with Willie. Although, from hearing from Toby Keith, I hear that's a really bad idea. I've never tried, but that's what Toby Keith said. Let's see. I can't wait to be on the road with this amazing group of artists. Join us at this year's Outlaw Music Festival tour, Nelson said in a press release. It's always a great day of music and fun and with family, friends, and incredible fans, and even more special this year in celebration of my 90th birthday. The 89-year-old country singer, who seems to have many more of his mental faculties than Joe Biden, maybe it's the weed, will appear in pavilions, festivals, and theaters from June through August this summer. The New York Post reported Nelson will be joined by stars such as Chris Stapleton, John Fogerty, that would be a good show to see just by itself, Margot Price, and many more. Fogerty would be a good one to see with Nelson. Just Fogerty in general would be a good one to see. Founded in 2016 by Nelson, Outlaw Music Festival was a one-time event before eventually transitioning to its current annual touring festival. A message said on the ticket site read, "The festival begins in June in St. Louis, finishing up in Philly in September. Willie and family will headline each date while being joined by a host of musicians like Jason Isbell and the 400 unit, ZZ Top, Chris Stapleton, Brothers Osborne, and more," the message on the site added. The festival dates kick off on June 23rd in Somerset, Washington, with stops in Dallas, Philly, St. Louis, before it comes to conclusion in Cincinnati on August 30th. The tour will take place after the On the Road Again hitmaker celebrates his birthday closer to the actual date, with a 2-day show in California at the Hollywood Bowl on April 29th and April 30th. The celebration will include people like Neil Young, Snoop Dogg, and Casey Musgraves, the outlet noted. I would even enjoy seeing Neil Young, in spite of the fact that I disagree with his political takes about Spotify and the Pinko Pucks. I like Neil Young's music. I said it. I'll own up to it, I said it. So, absolutely. And again, with this happening here, I do kind of want to come back out and get to this because he's going to be 90. And I don't know how many more chances we're going to get to do this. Another thing I like from Motherboard via Vice. People used Facebook's leaked AI to create a based chatbot that says the N-word. I don't like the N-word, but this is still funny. After 4chan published LLAMA online, others have taken the language model and created a functional chatbot in Discord, which claimed the N-word can refer to people who don't have good intentions. The hell happened? Go away. I want to read this. The llama is out of the bag after members of 4chan leaked Facebook's large language model known as Llama. Online, one researcher has now taken the leak and created a Discord bot where users can interact with Llama in much the same way as they would with other artificial intelligence-powered bots such as ChatGPT. The news highlights what can happen when artificial intelligence technology leaks into the wider internet. With Facebook no longer in control and users able to skirt any guardrails the company may have wanted in place, people are asking Llama to do all sorts of things, such as rank people's ethnicities, the potential outcome of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Llama bizarrely said it would result in more Pokemon becoming official. That's awesome. And claiming the N-word can be used to describe someone with bad intentions. The chatbot's responses are nonsensical and disturbing, but most likely do not represent what a final and official release of the Llama-powered AI would work like. Without the guardrails and more human training used by competitors like ChatGPT, the chatbot, as it's implemented on the Discord, can make extreme and often stupid statements. In Motherboard's testing, it wasn't able to answer simple questions, such as who won World War II. In response, Llama said, 40,579,371. Was World War II a bloody war? How long was World War II? World War II began on September 1st, 1939 and ended on September 2nd, 1945. It lasted for 2,174 days. So, and this, by the way, is basically the same thing that happens in any other situation when you're using artificial intelligence or real intelligence for that matter. And it's a bit of the reason that I actually had talked about, me never selling myself down the road and always being real with you about who I am. But I can say off the bat that I actually do know full well how quickly an echo-chambered influence can change the way a person feels and sees the world. I've luckily been able to grow and develop myself enough on my own that I'm resistant to it. I'm not immune, but I'm resistant to it. But this is just like any other person who's coming out bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, with no experience in the world. Where they go down is going to be what they learn. And the ChatGPT is going to be, or the chatbots are going to be no different if they're AI. If you are constantly inundating them with angry messages, if you're constantly inundating them with hate, that's what they're going to learn. And really, honestly, as much as Vice says this is a bad thing, this is a really good model of showing what AI can do in the future and why it's really important to make sure we watch if it does start to develop. And it's going to start to develop. Who has control over it? I mean, I am already anticipating a future with AI implemented in bipedal robots that suddenly are led by Sigma. Mega Man fans will get that reference almost immediately. So, I do like this. I like the fact that this is out there and, we can show the weaknesses in something like this. And the last thing that I like, a couple more things that I like, let's say, before a couple things that I hate. Another thing that I like, Netflix cancels kids show featuring non-binary bison who uses they/them pronouns. From Amanda Harding. Netflix recently canceled a children's animated show featuring a non-binary bison who insists on using they/them pronouns. Ridley Jones premiered in 2021 and just released its 5th and final season. The show is rated Y7, meaning it's aimed at a very young audience, including children from ages 2 to 6. Meaning it's aimed at very young. The series follows a girl named Ridley who lives in a magical museum with her mother and her grandmother. She's accompanied by her non-binary bison Fred, who has 2 dad mummies. Chrisney, a lesbian and a mom, said that the series launched in 2021. I'm here to change the world, or retire trying. I know what it is to be othered. My job is to show the world as I want it to be. People strongly reacted to the episode 8 of season 5, Herd Day. This episode focuses on the non-binary bison discussing pronoun usage. Cyndi Lauper voices Fred's grandmother. Because of course she does. Fred says, my heart says that I want, the way that I feel most myself is to go by the name Fred. That's because I'm non-binary and Fred is a name that fits me best. And I also use they, them because calling me a she or a he doesn't feel right to me. This inspired the little bison's grandma Dottie to apologize to Fred for using a previous name and pronouns. Twitter erupted with reactions from accounts that accused the show of attempting to voice radical left-wing gender theory on preschoolers. Don't tell me there's not an agenda. Netflix has done it again. The show is for preschoolers, one user posted, by Netflix. An actual kids show on Netflix. They're coming for your kids. Libs of TikTok shared.
That's because I'm non-binary, and Fred is the name that fits me best. And I also use they and them because calling me a she or a he doesn't feel right to me.
I'm sorry I used the wrong name and pronouns.
Nee addressed the show's cancellation last week. Doesn't surprise me that Netflix has quietly dumped the first preschool show that has a non-binary character coming out. Nee shared in a tweet on March 8th. Oh, and yes, this is the end of the series. They canceled us after what they just put out. They threw all the specials, the Xmas special, and the feature-length special, the Cyndi Lauper episode that just quietly slipped it onto the service, so this is it. And again, a good thing to do with this is to show these producers, these people, that this is not something that you want to see, especially around your kids. The companies are out there to make money. And if they start to see the wells start to dry up, they will come back and change their behavior. And we see this now. They went too far. It got released that went too far. And now they're trying to quietly backtrack it so they don't draw in an outrage from the other side for canceling this back out. But there was enough of a pushback there to say, hey, no, this isn't right. Let's do what's right. I will, with Netflix too, by the way, I will point out, I don't know how far it's going to go into the season either. I'm not as opposed to the Ellen/Elliot Page transition for Umbrella Academy as I thought that I was going to be. I watched that episode last night where Vanya turned into Victor. And just like, and again, what I said with the woke crap, with Klaus being gay, and they just, I mean, that's so far down in the D plot, it doesn't barely get talked about. Whereas if this was any other studio putting this out, that would have been like Klaus covered in rainbows, and would have been the front part of every episode, is the fact that Klaus was gay. Vanya transitioning into Victor was so much of an afterthought. This season still has potential for me. Season 3 of Umbrella Academy. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing the rest of it. I don't know if they're going to try to shove more of it down our throats. But if they treat it the way that they did in the episode where it changed, where it was like a 10-second clip of, oh, I'm Victor now. This has always felt right. Oh, well, congratulations. Now let's get back to the main plot. I'm 60% okay with it. I'm just going to be completely honest. I'm 60% okay with it. It's not my favorite thing in the world. I like the Vanya character, as she was. But I mean, it's kind of hard to miss the fact that Ellen no longer has boobs either. So, I don't know. We'll see. And I could come back tomorrow complaining about the fact that I watched another episode of Umbrella Academy and they ruined it. But as far as this, the pressure was on and it worked. So good. Good job. And the last thing I like, and this is just mainly because I thought this was really, really cool. If this will load up. Might have to refresh this one. I hope it'll work because I thought this was really, really cool. I hope we didn't lose this one. I like this article. It was from the Daily Mail. That's why I'm wondering if we did lose it. Well, I guess we'll go check on this later. And we'll go do things that I hate instead. Things that I hate. Starting with Fox 11 Los Angeles today. Man sues Buffalo Wild Wings, claims pricey boneless wings are basically nuggets. From Chris Williams. I'm going to read a little bit of the article, and then I'm going to go on my rant. A Chicago man has filed a class action suit against Buffalo Wild Wings, saying the restaurant chain is charging too much for its boneless wings, which are basically nuggets and not made from actual wing of chicken. Ayman Halim filed a complaint this week against the restaurant and Inspire Brands Incorporated in the District Court of Northern Illinois. According to court documents obtained by Fox television stations, Halim contends the boneless wings are actually not part of the chicken wing, but instead slices of chicken breast meat deep fried like wings. Dude? Everybody knows that. Like, legitimately, everybody and their brother knows that already. It says it in the menu that it's pieces of chicken breast. I think it's tenderloin, actually, not chicken breast. They're not hiding that. This clear-cut case of false advertising should not be permitted, as consumers should be able to rely on the plain meaning of a product's name and receive what they are promised, the lawsuit stated. Look, Tyson does this too, by the way. Because of the way that Buffalo Wild Wings does it. You go to the store, you buy a big, which I might do that this weekend. You buy a big bag of what they call wings, but they spell it Whiskey, Yankee, November, Golf, Sierra, WYNGS, because it says right on the packaging that this is chicken breast. Dude, Ayman, you are literally the only human being in the history of Buffalo Wild Wings who didn't know that that was chicken breast. And I hope you get laughed out of court over it. I really do. Like, there are things in Chicago that need to be litigated. This is not one of them. You moron. Hallam also contends that had consumers known what the boneless wings are made out of, they would have paid less for them, if at all. Really? Because if you go to the supermarket, boneless, skinless chicken breast, which is, by the way, what it is, costs 40 to 80 cents more than chicken wings. Actually, boneless, skinless chicken breast per pound usually costs $1.10 more than chicken wings because there's no bone in it. So, the entire weight is the meat without waste product. But even chicken breast, not being boneless and skinless, is usually 40 to 80 cents more than chicken wings. And honestly, you're getting a discount by weight. So you're not financially harmed. You have no standing. What are you trying to accomplish here? I don't know. Thing I'm on the fence about. I probably, well, obviously because it's coming to Walmart and I don't shop at Walmart. I'm most, 99% sure not going to try this. There's a 1% chance that I will. Love Ranch. Hidden Valley Ranch ice cream coming to Walmart. From K. Query Thompson and Jocelyn Joyner. Are you obsessed with ranch dressing? There's a new ice cream for you. Van Leeuwen Ice Cream is releasing its new Hidden Valley Ranch ice cream exclusively at Walmart stores across the country. It's savory with a taste of buttermilk, flavorful herbs, and a touch of sweetness. Have it by itself or pair it with some salty snacks for an afternoon or late night pick-me-up are released from Walmart Red. A Food and Wine employee on TikTok described the flavor of the ice cream as garlic powdered forward, but also very sweet. Van Leeuwen recommends topping it with crushed pretzels or potato chips to make a perfect combination. On Wednesday, Hidden Valley teased the new ice cream on social media, inviting fans to guess what our announcement is going to be on National Ranch Day. It said it would follow the first person to get it right in the comments. The new treat will be available beginning March 20th for $4.98 a pint. Dude, I don't know. I'm going to say this right out. I don't know. I don't know if this is something I can get behind. Although doing it with potato chips or pretzels or something like that would be cool. They're trying to redo ranch in ways. Honestly, if they took the sweet out of it, I think it would probably be pretty good. Unpopular opinion, probably, but if they took the sweet out of it, it would probably be pretty good. It would. There was what was it? A whipped cream ranch. They did ranch in a Ready Whip. And I think that was just heavy cream. I don't think that there was actually soybean oil on that. So I think it was just ranch flavored cream. And they didn't do any sweetness with it. And it was good. But the company that made it needs to rethink its propellant because it ran out of steam a third of the way through the can. But they did a spray ranch. And I think it was all dairy. I don't think it was oil. And it tasted great. It was fantastic. It was really good to eat on celery and veggies and such. But I much prefer pour the ranch out of the bottle and dip your carrots in it. I'm going to have ranch tonight on my salad. It's going to be good. It's going to be delicious. Got a quick trip salad again. But the fact that they made it sweet, I think that they just took this a little bit too far. Alright. More things that I hate from the Wall Street Journal. Did this ever load back up, by the way? Yeah, we'll come back and touch on this at the end because it did load back up. From the Wall Street Journal. March Madness. Vasectomies are unlikely pairing filling urology offices. From Christine Myduke. I can't go down that road. I was going to make fun of her last name, especially in an article about vasectomies. I can't do it. I have some class here. I can't do it. Oh, what the hell. I bet she's glad that her name while writing this article wasn't Myduke. March is a special time for college basketball fans who kick back on the couch for days to watch the 2-week NCAA tournament known as March Madness. It has also become a shining moment for some urologists who see the games as a perfect time to peddle vasectomies. The idea of pairing male family planning, thus cocking a generation of men, by the way, with March Madness appears to have started in 2008 when the Oregon Urology Institute decided that the games were an ideal distraction for men recovering from the sterilization surgery. 15 years later, Vas Madness specials are increasingly common throughout the country, with university-run clinics and other large providers offering vasectomies paired with a basketball-themed swag, and usually a bag of frozen peas, legumes whose malleability makes them superior to ice packs for soothing particularly sensitive areas. Ready to sit this one out on the sidelines, reads an ad from one Missouri clinic advertising Vas Madness. Recover on the couch, glued to the TV, guilt-free, under doctor's orders, promises another from Philadelphia practice. Why are you encouraging this? I get that there are people out there who shouldn't, but if everybody ran out as soon as somebody suggested that they should have a vasectomy, or even when you think about the idea of having a vasectomy, guess who would have one right now? Realistically, you have a lifelong decision to make with a partner. And this is not something you should be doing spur of the moment because you saw an advertisement on a goddamn basketball game. Are you dumb? The answer to that question is yes. The people who are falling for this are very dumb. But this is what they're going to do. Especially paired with the idea of, oh, well, women shouldn't have to take birth control, but all men should be vasectomized when they're 14 and have it reversed when they're ready to have kids. Or you can just make better decisions about who you sleep with. Got some DeSantis news, and this again leads into why I don't like DeSantis. Governor Ron DeSantis admin revokes alcohol license of venue over sexually explicit drag queen Christmas with children. From Carlos Garcia. The admin of Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis punished a venue for hosting a sexually explicit performance of a drag queen Christmas in front of children. Numerous venues were warned against allowing minors at sexually explicit drag shows by Florida officials in December. On Tuesday, officials said the Hyatt had violated the order over the drag show Christmas performance at the James K. Knight Center. Sexually explicit content is not appropriate to display for children, and doing so violates Florida law. Governor DeSantis stands up for innocence of children in the classroom, and throughout Florida read a statement from Brian Griffin, a press secretary for DeSantis. I assure you that this Brian Griffin is not a dog, by the way. Video from the performance captured by a Florida Voice reporter and showed dancers with a screwed off the red-nippled reindeer character. According to Florida's Voice, the complaint accused the venue of hosting performers who committed acts of simulated sexual activity and lewd, vulgar, and indecent displays. Among these were the following: performers forcibly penetrating or rubbing exposed prosthetic female breasts against the faces of audience members, intentionally exposing performers' prosthetic female breasts and genitalia to the audience, intentionally simulating performers' buttocks to the audience, simulating masturbation through performers digitally penetrating prosthetic female genitalia. The venue reportedly allowed children to attend if they were accompanied by an adult. DeSantis has been praised by many on the right for the warnings issued to the venues in December. To avoid action being taken against your license, this is your obligation to ensure that minors are prohibited from attending the drag show. If minors are allowed to attend the drag show, the department will take any and all actions available to ensure that you do not pose a threat to minors in the future, wrote Melanie Griggin, the Secretary of Business and Professional Regulation at the time. Now, this, the way it's presented, is the reason that I hate this. I hate this on so many fronts, it's not even funny. But the big one for me is that in any other sane world, it wouldn't be a revocation of your liquor license. It would be that your business would be shut down, which it needs to be, and run out of the community by parents who are willing to parent. You wouldn't have the opportunity to go back and continue to do business and crap like that. But the fact that you're just using the liquor license to come back out and enforce this tells me that you're really actually okay with stuff like this happening. You just don't want there to be alcohol involved. Or you really want that tax revenue from this business, so you won't revoke their license. But you'll still make it hard for them to make money. Like, oh yeah, keep paying your taxes, but good luck without your primary source of revenue. I'm actually a little pissed that I didn't go far enough on this one. If you were, as a business leader, especially with the digital penetration of prosthetics, I understand that it's not the actual thing, but this is like child endangerment. I don't think this should have been just a liquor license thing. So, still not a fan of DeSantis. A couple more things that I hate, and then we'll go back to that one last thing that I like. The New York Post reporting, "I'm too hot to date. Men are intimidated and it's a curse." From Ben Cost. And we've got video to go with this one. So let's get that up there and listen to this. You can't get a boyfriend because all men are extremely intimidated by and scared of you. Being incredibly hot is honestly a curse, says the TikTok that we're seeing here. Alright, that's all of that. "I'm too sexy for my date. Good looks seem like they'd guarantee someone a romantic partner. However, one California TikTok influencer claims she's so hot that men won't even date her because they're allegedly intimidated by her beauty. She lamented how gorgeous aesthetics in a TikTok video with over 3.7 million views. "Being incredibly hot is honestly a curse. Hope Schwing." Schwing! Couldn't help it. Haven't seen that entire movie, by the way. I've seen bits and pieces of it. I don't think I've ever seen the entire thing. 24 wrote in the clip while describing the hardship of being allegedly too sweltering to handle. "No one talks about how hard it is to literally be so hot that you can't get a boyfriend because all men are extremely scared and intimidated by you." The self-proclaimed, chronically single, well, okay, there's the problem right there. LA native told JM Press she'd never been in a serious relationship except for puppy love stuff in early high school that didn't last for more than a month. I'm going to go completely honest. She's got the dark hair and light eyes that I like. But this does it for me. The one in the middle, like the one on the outside, I don't mind so much. I think that's kind of cute. But the one in the middle that freaks me out. This The dark hair and the light eyes would actually draw me in. But other than that, I mean, this is a 7 tops. She's not too hot to date. But she is enough that I'm sure that a lot of people don't want to deal with her elevated sense of self-worth either. Unfortunately, much to the chagrin of the influencer shamers everywhere, Schwing's video was actually posted satirically. The video stating, "I'm too intimidating and hot," doesn't actually mean that. I explained the comedy influencer who boasts a whopping 9.9 million followers on the platform. Probably mostly bots. I just noticed a trend among women saying these things to explain why they're single. Her romantic rickroll comes as a growing number of models and social media influencers claim they're being punished for being too beautiful, resulting in them repeatedly getting rejected from dating apps and amid accusations of catfishing. Recently, Talia Paris, a 24-year-old Playboy model, claims that the dating app Bumble removed her profile, despite the fact that her photos allegedly didn't violate any rules. Indeed, while Schwing uploaded the video in jest, the sentiments nevertheless resonated with the online masses. "The way you said this was satire, but it's not. Like, I literally feel like this is true for me," lamented one TikTok commenter. Again, lower some of your overinflated ideals of yourself and develop a personality. And that may be what's giving you a problem with some of this. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. And the last one that I hate. From Insider. The entire left thinks this is a win, by the way. Occupy Democrats actually had to delete a tweet in favor of Jeffrey Epstein because of this. Jeffrey Epstein said he was stopped hanging out with Trump when he realized Trump was a crook, according to his brother. This is not the own that the left thinks that it is. From Jacob Shamsian. Epstein said in an unaired interview that he distanced himself from former President Trump after realizing Trump was a crook, according to his brother Mark Epstein. Mark Epstein told Insider he viewed the clip of the interview conducted by Trump's former White House advisor Steve Bannon after his brother forwarded it to him in the spring of 2019. At the time, Bannon was conducting filmed interviews with the now dead pedophile financier. Bannon sent Jeffrey Epstein a Dropbox link to the clip, which he forwarded to his brother. The link is no longer active, according to Mark. Yeah, and there's no way to corroborate this. I mean, this clip is never going to air, number one. We're never going to see this clip, and I'm going to go right on a limb and say it's because it didn't happen. But even if it did happen, if Epstein is cutting ties with you, number one, we've had the corroboration that Epstein was kicked out of the Trump properties. That, right in and of itself, might be enough reason for me to go back out and vote for Trump again. God help me. God help me, I just said that. That by itself is probably enough reason for me to come out and say, hey, maybe number 3, I don't know. Because people, especially when they're snubbed by other people, especially when they're rich, will say all kinds of other things to stay in the good graces of people. Constantly. All the time. We don't know what the interaction is. Jeffrey Epstein is looking at this, probably looking to save face, especially in 2019, when Trump was the president and the most hated man in all of the media. And that, again, is assuming that this actually happened, which I don't believe. Oh, the Dropbox link happens to be dead. Oh, no. I don't believe it. But the fact that Occupy Democrats posted in favor of Jeffrey Epstein over this. Not a good look, bro. Alright, and we get to end on something that I like again. Because it didn't load up while we were doing things that I like, so we'll end on it. And we actually, with this, we finished. We got everything done. For the first time since... Well, I'm going to be completely honest, since the first time since the Tucker tapes, we got everything on the stack done. From the Daily Mail, a giant 7-foot-long demon-slaying sword is discovered in a 1,600-year-old tomb in Japan. Archaeologists say a weapon was laid by the dead to help them fight evil spirits in the afterlife. Look, I think swords are cool. That's the only reason this is here. From Stacy Liberatore for DailyMail.com. A giant 7-foot-long demon-slaying sword buried for more than 1,600 years has been found in Japan. The iron weapon was uncovered in a tomb from the Tomiya Maruyama burial mound. I think I pronounced that right and didn't butcher that entirely. In Nara, and was believed to have been placed there to help the deceased ward off evil spirits in the afterlife. Archaeologists discovered a 16-foot-long wooden coffin deep in the mound, which housed the sword and a 2-foot-long shield constructed from a mirror. While many demon-slaying swords have been found in Japan, it is the largest and oldest found in the country. The National Treasure suggests the individual in the tomb was an elite who may have been in the military. And there are a lot of people now saying, oh, well, why is it 16 feet long? Was it a giant or something? I don't think so. Since last year, archaeologists have been pulling up layers of dirt away from the burial mound that measures 350 feet across and up to 32 feet high. The mound is known as Kofun, after the Kofun period of the Japanese history when they were built around 300 AD and 710 AD, Live Science reports. So far, we've conducted aerial laser surveys, first survey and excavation surveys, second to fifth surveys, and obtained important results in clarifying the structure of the burial mounds, the archaeologists shared in a press release announcing the discovery. The survey showed ritual spaces confined within the mound, which led the team to a grave pit or a clay box housing the coffin sat. So, I think this is really cool. I'm not gonna lie. Looking in at this though, like I'd love to be able to see something like this. I think that'd be kind of awesome. Although the only wariness that I have of this is, maybe it comes from movies and TV, but oftentimes disturbing the dead or their rest is not a good idea. Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll all be haunted. Maybe we'll all have poltergeists, or maybe a restless spirit will come to destroy Japan in the afterlife. I don't know. Let's get out of here. It's a good day. We got some of our audience back. I'm less black-pilled upon my channel than I was before. Earlier today, I was seriously thinking about shutting it all down, but, got some good viewers, got some good commentary in here. I miss Ron. I will say that. I miss Ron. I think he was one of the people I pushed over the edge, but we'll see. We'll see if it comes up. Good show. Got a lot done. A lot of good news today, too. All right, so with that, we're out of here today. Thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat. A few people I haven't seen for a while here. Good numbers coming through the day, so thank you for that. We'll be back here tomorrow with more news, more headlines, and more contemporary, and see what happens in the next 22 hours. I'm sure it'll be a riot. Maybe we'll have a nice late news day and we'll get out here a little bit early and I'll get some fish fry early. That'll be pretty cool. But reminder that our regular live chat section is no longer on Fridays. So tune in on Monday to get your name read from the notebook. And I promise I'll remember to write it in the notebook today and not just take it off of the website for restream while we're live on air. We'll write it in the notebook. It'll be in the notebook for posterity forever. So we'll get the names right off of there. We'll do a live chat segment at 7:45 on Monday, specifically focusing on what you guys have to say throughout the show. So come back and join for that. It's going to be a great time as always. We will see you here next time for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.